This episode is dedicated to Emma, who inspired me to start running again. I want to tell you guys about my favorite running story of all time. I did a really crazy thing when I was 20. I signed up for a 10K, even though up until that point, I don't think I had even run like 25, 30 minutes nonstop before. So to go from, barely any distance running, long distance running to a 10K was a big jump for me. And actually, believe it or not, when I was signing up for the event, I almost signed up for a half marathon. And thank God I didn't have enough money for it because one of my friends decided to do the half marathon and he had not done like a half marathon ever in his life. Or maybe he did, I can't remember. But the impression he gave me was that he had not done any long distance running in a very long time. And I saw him toward the end of the race. He had developed major cramps in both legs and he needed someone to pretty much prop him up the entire time. Yeah, he looked like he was suffering. So thankfully I chose the 10K. And, I started off pretty strong. I had a couple of my good friends with me. They were athletic runners. So the fact that I could keep up with them, at least for the first 10 minutes, was very encouraging. But I think by the 15-minute mark, they were totally ahead. And, I took my time because I was not aiming for any particular timing. I just wanted to enjoy myself and I didn't want to feel like I was dying by the end. So I was running and then stopping, I don't even like slow down. I literally will just run and then I'll stop and I'll actually walk for as long as I need to and then pick up the running again. And I know some people say that's really bad. You should really just not stop. And if anything, you should just slow down to a very comfortable crawl or jog. But that was my first time doing any kind of long distance running events. So I had no idea what I was doing. And I was just running and then running, walking. And that's pretty much how I went. How I continued the race for the majority of it. And it was so funny because I was doing this event in Jerusalem. And, I didn't know the local languages, but my roommate that very morning before I participated in this event, she was in a Hebrew class. And so she was kind of reciting to me some of the new vocabulary words she had learned. And she was like, Jasmine, I want to teach you how to say the word English in Hebrew. And that's anglit. So I was like, oh, okay, great. She's like, and she kept repeating that word, anglit, 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 just so that she could remember it herself. And as I was doing this 10K race, this gentleman, he was sort of like, we were running at around the same pace. And every time he passed me, or not every time, but there were several times where he passed me that he would turn back and look at me and say something. But to be very honest, I was so tuned into my music and I had no idea what this man was saying. And I wasn't even sure if he was talking to me, right? I thought maybe he was talking to someone behind me. So I completely ignored him. And towards the end of the race, actually it was really funny. My friends were standing on one side of the road and they were like cheering me on. And I thought that I was nearing the end because my friends were there. And so I sprinted, I gave it my all, only to find out that when I passed them, I still had about 2 to 3 more kilometers to go. And at that point, I just gave up. I had given all my energy out at the 7-8 kilometer mark, and I just had nothing left to give at the end. So again, as I mentioned, I didn't really care that all my friends that I had run with were way ahead of me, probably already finished. And I just started to walk. So I'm walking, and towards the very tail end of the race, there's this huge mountain. Okay, no, mountain's an exaggeration. It's a very, very steep hill. And when I looked at it, I saw people like going for it. They were just pounding up that hill. And I'm like looking at these people going like, well, good for you. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to continue walking at my leisurely pace. And it's fine as long as I finish, that's what matters. Well, that same gentleman who's older than me, and I could tell that he wasn't, he wasn't having the easiest time doing this 10K himself. Every time he passed me, I noticed that he was kind of huffing and puffing, but he was going strong. Like he wasn't going to stop for anything. Well, right before we ascend this hill, he turns around and looks at me and says something again. And at this point, I suddenly remembered that my friend had taught me how to say the word English in Hebrew. So I just threw it out. I just said, Anglit, Anglit. And he smiles and he's like, oh, you speak only English. And I said, yeah, I have had no idea how to respond to you the last, hour or so. And I'm really sorry. I don't understand anything you've been saying. So he laughs and he's like, well, I've been trying to tell you not to give up. And I'm like, oh, that's why. He would turn around and, say something to me every time I had stopped and was just walking. And he's like, yeah, don't give up. You can do it. And I literally shook my head and I said, oh no, like it's fine. I do not want to run up this hill. I'm good. I'm not trying to get any kind of timing or anything. I'm just enjoying myself. And he's like, and it was so interesting too, because I could tell from his outward appearance that he was a religious observer of a particular religion. And, from what I know of people of that religion, they don't normally interact so closely with people of a different race or religion. And I was, obviously a different gender. So yeah, I was really caught off guard by his friendliness. But he's like, no, you have to end strong. You have to finish strong. And I tried to say no to him again, like, no, it's fine. You should go ahead. I think he was running with another friend. And I was like, you should really go and catch up with your friend. And before I could even realize it, he grabs my arm, not in an overly aggressive way, but he just kind of takes my arm and he's pulling me up this hill. And I remember the looks on my friends' faces because they were like, Jasmine, who is this guy? Like, what are you doing? And I'm looking at them like, I have no idea what's happening right now, but this guy is so determined to see me finishing strong. And when we reached the very top of the hill, I looked down and I saw the finish line and he kind of waved at me and he said, go, go finish. So I just had like a fresh wind in me and I sprinted down that hill. It was much easier downhill. And I actually got a decent timing for, my first 10K. I think I ran it in about an hour and 6 minutes, which is about 33 minutes per 5K. And yeah, I was shocked. If he hadn't, helped me, like I would have had a much longer time. In fact, my two friends, the athletic ones who finished first, they were pretty surprised. They're like, oh, we thought we would have to wait a lot longer for you. And later on, that guy came and found me and, he congratulated me. And, I told him, I said, I'm so touched that you really went out of your way to help me finish. And yeah, he was really humble about it. He didn't want to take the credit. He's like, no, I just wanted you to I really don't even remember what he said, but he just said, I just want to make sure that you are okay, that you are going to be able to finish. And he was like, make sure you do your post-run stretching, okay? So he even taught me some stretches to do. And then he disappeared and I never saw him again. But I just wanted to share that maybe there's something on your heart to do and you're sort of 50-50 in. I was kind of wanting to do the race simply because it was cool and some of my friends were doing it, but I didn't have the full confidence to do it. And I don't know if you're like me, but when you don't have the full confidence to go about doing something, there's a temptation to not give it your all. And I wasn't really giving it my all. And I mean, there was a part of that was wise of me. I just didn't want to overexert myself and injure myself. But the other part of me too was that I lacked confidence and I didn't really think that I was a very good runner. And because of that, I just gave up so easily. And I wasn't motivated to do well. And that was the precise moment that I believe God moved this man who, he really had no reason to stop to help me. He didn't know me. I wasn't doing anything for him. I was just a stranger in the crowd. But he singled me out and he really, at that point of my greatest weakness, he came alongside me to make sure that I had the confidence to finish what I started. And in the book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible, there's a verse that says, it is better to finish a thing than to start it. And that's so true. I mean, whenever we start things, there's so much excitement and there's so much optimism. But really, when you complete something and you've given it your all, that sense of just overall satisfaction and joy far outweighs the more shallow excitement and optimism that one feels at the beginning of a project. And I know we're only at the start of the year, but if you've started something and you're in the middle of it and you're lacking the confidence to move forward with it, could I just pray for you right now? Dear Jesus, I just want to pray for this person or maybe multiple people. And actually, let me just include myself in that prayer because I'm about to run my first half marathon and I've never even run more than a 10K, and I know that I'm going to need confidence to finish it. But more than that, I pray that all of us would, have someone, that you would send someone along to come alongside us in our journey of completing this task, this project, this goal that we've had for a very long time. You would send someone who would know what to say, who would be there at the right place at the right time to offer us that emotional support that we need. And it's such a good reminder that none of us are totally independent, that we actually do need the encouragement of other people to complete something. And maybe you're going to send someone that totally surprises us, someone we never expected to be that person, to be there. And may we not be disappointed when there are others whom we expect to be there to help us who can't. Because honestly, everyone's going through their own thing. And sometimes our closest friends who want to be there just can't. But I pray that you would bring that very special person to just run alongside us so that we can finish not only strong, but finish with joy. And that they would even make those painfully difficult moments fun and lighthearted. And more importantly, may we open our eyes to the reality that you are running alongside of us on this race of life. And it's a race that we are not we are not competing against other people, but we are wanting to run this race the best that we can, because we only have one life, this life to live before eternity. And I pray that all of us would really be able to come to the end of our race and look back, as the Apostle Paul said, and say that I have run the race, I have kept the faith. And that's only by the grace of God, and because your Holy Spirit dwells in us to empower us. So I pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.